So it's Nat and Kiki. We are back. It's a little bit delayed. I know the Spanish Grand Prix was today. That episode will come a little bit later today. But I was actually in Monaco for the Monaco Grand Prix up until Thursday. So that's why we didn't get to record until now. So I was adventuring around Europe for a little bit. Sorry.
So jealous. So jealous. You got
It
to
was
have
a
nice European getaway.
it was a dream. Like it, I look back at pictures and videos and I still don't think that I was actually there. Like I think the videos are from Facebook, and I told my mom this. I was like, I think my videos are from Facebook and the pictures are edited and I wasn't actually there.
Yeah, nope. It's all in your head. It's all live. But yeah, definitely next year, I think that's gonna be one of my goals. I want to go to an overseas race.
I'm going. So I've already signed up for pre-sale tickets, and my mom's looking at hotels and everything because she wants to go to Monaco. She doesn't care about the race, but
That's fine. We can go. It'll be a good time.
I'm going. But
But
let's talk about the Monaco Grand Prix. Start off with qualifying. What were
rip.
your thoughts? I didn't get to watch very much of it because we had just gotten there on Saturday, and we got to our Airbnb, we changed, and then we just went out. And we didn't have tickets for qualifying, so we were trying to find a spot where we could kind of see, but we couldn't really see much. I have like a little video where I saw not much of a car.
And I missed a little bit of it just because, life happens. But I did read up on it afterwards. And I know one of the main focuses was your boy Charles Leclerc. Excuse me, I'm dying already.
Yeah.
Um,
We don't
you
need to.
know, with his Monaco curse, unfortunately, that seems to have played through this race.
It's
So,
not as bad as it could have been or has been in the past. He finished
no,
the race. He finished the race. That's all I care about.
no, and I was super excited with the whole starting grid too. I mean, even with where he was, like he had a shot. So I think the curse is starting to, maybe next year if things go the way they will, maybe we'll see Leclerc on the podium or just Ferrari in general. But
I want him to be on podium for Monaco because that's his home race, and he's had so many issues with it. And it's a difficult track. Like there's
it
not
really is.
spots for overtaking. I mean, there's a lot of winding turns. There's the hairpin.
There's, yep, turn six, that's everybody dreads turn six except for the audience. Definitely a thriller, but yeah, it is not an easy track. It's one of the more, intermediate to harder tracks there are in any of the Grand Prix. So, yeah, Monaco definitely tests the drivers, and qualifying is really what makes the race moving forward from there because there, like you said, there's no room to overtake. There's nothing you can do once you're in a place unless somebody pits in a unstrategic way. You're kind of SOL, but or if wings come off of your car at Carlos. But we'll talk about that later. All right, so Monaco Grand Prix, 78 laps, not seven. My goodness, that'd be so short.
That would be a really short race. If it was 7 laps, I would have been very upset of the amount of money I spent to go there. Wow! Yay! Okay. Oh, it's done.
So Monaco, 78 laps. You've got turn six. You got, that hairpin. It's dangerous. Really, the Monaco Grand Prix is all about maintaining your position. And that's what we saw a lot in that race, especially with the weather issues that we'll get to later. And you got to experience firsthand. Hope you brought a raincoat,
I did
but
not. It
you
was
know,
really, really hot when we showed up. Like it was so hot. So I wore just like a tank top, like a crop top and shorts, and my Ferrari jacket. And it was so hot that I couldn't wear the jacket. And I put sunscreen on 4 times. And we went to lunch after the race. And my best friend Morgan, who came with me, she was like, "Are you okay? Like, what's going on with your back?" And I was like, "What do you mean? What's going on with my back?" It was, lack of better terms, Ferrari red.
it was getting into the spirit, it's perfectly fine.
But then it started raining and it got colder, or not colder, but like cooler. And we thought it was going to be cooler because our seats were in the P grandstand right over the water. And I was thinking, oh, yes, the breeze.
Yeah, ocean breeze makes sense. I mean, you used to live in California, you know how that is out here. Like it gets cold out here on the coast.
We didn't think about all the big yachts blocking the air.
I do, I am a little jealous of those yachts though. That's like the perfect place to watch from.
You honestly though, you can't see anything from it
Ah,
because
it's the experience.
Morgan and I kind of finessed onto one of them, and like on Saturday night, and I shouldn't say finessed. Somebody just waved us on, and I was like, okay, I'll go. But
I wonder
you,
how much it costs to put your yacht there for the race. Just if anybody knows, please let us know in the comments because I'm really curious. Not that I have a yacht of my own, but in theory,
that
if
you
I
could
did,
get from California to Monaco.
if I could get a yacht from California to Monaco, yeah, let me know how much it costs to park my boat there. Um, anyways, yeah, so back to the race. So starting in P10, Lando, because
I
that,
honestly was super excited about that because one, starting off in a position that could put him in the points, and two,
yep,
in some of the practices, he was actually in first for a little bit, and I was like, oh,
Lando showed us his stuff. Like he was doing pretty good. If it weren't for the crash, I think he would have done a lot better. Sorry, if anybody's listening and you hear dogs, we are puppy sitting, so my dogs are a little upset right now. Anyways, one thing that I did find a little shocking was P20 with Perez. I did not see that coming. I definitely missed that. And when I woke up on Sunday morning and I saw the grid, my jaw just dropped. I couldn't believe it.
out in Q1.
Yep. Which is heartbreaking for him. We were rooting for him. Like I really thought he was gonna start off in a better position on the grid, but it is what it is, unfortunately. And he wasn't in P20 for very long because Hulkenberg, pitted too early. But I think lap one actually Hulkenberg pitted, which I don't remember what happened. I just remember being very shocked because you don't see that too often unless it's a tire strategy. Um, but anyways, our first four, let's see, we had Max, of course. Again, race about maintaining. So Max starting out P1. Well, what's the surprise there? Alonso P2, Ocon, I think P3, and
He
Carlos,
he
our
showed
boy, P4.
everybody with that. I was like, oh my god, go Esteban, go Esty Bestie. I'm so proud of you.
Right? Like that was a great race for him, but we'll talk more about that later because I am so proud of him and he was so happy. I don't like the whole race, like you could just tell like he was there, he was in it, he
Fighting for
knew
it.
what he was doing.
He's like,
Exactly.
I want this. I mean, they all want it, but he was like, you could tell in his driving. And then Charles in P6, but it's fine.
So again about Monaco, what we brought up, it's a dangerous, there's a lot of maintaining. But one of the things that really came into place with this race was tire strategy. And that was a big discussion before the race even started. Two of the main strategies that you were looking at was starting off on hard and switching to soft about, 20 to 30 laps in, or starting off medium and switching to soft about 27 laps in. However, I don't know if you noticed this because you were sitting in the stands, but Perez immediately pitted and switched onto hard tires.
I did see that because we were sitting right here, and if you're not watching the YouTube video, you're gonna be very confused. We were sitting right on the harbor basically, and directly across we could see where the pits were, and we had a huge jumbo screen right in front of us, and I saw that he went into the pits, and I was like, already?
Which again, at P20, like what do you have to lose? I mean, chances are you're not gonna gain or lose anything. But I thought that was an interesting choice, especially with what happened in the race later. But and also, I think right off the bat too, Hulkenberg got a penalty because he left pit early, which
The note that I have was that he got a penalty for locking up,
yep.
overtaking Lance, or oh my god, who did he overtake? Not Lance.
I'm trying to remember. That was oh wow, 2 races ago. It was really hard to recall.
Yeah. Well, he overtook somebody before Lance got caught in the middle. I think it was Lance. because that's
I think
when
it might have been. I think you're right.
because that's when Lance started having issues with his front wing and did not finish at the hairpin.
Which was also heartbreaking. Man, that race was really good. I'm just sorry, like for those, those of you listening in, I just like watching the Monaco race, number one, looking for Natalie in the stands the whole time, but number two, like that race was just very exciting from start to finish. Like I thoroughly enjoyed that. Like
A
it
lot of
was a little,
people kind of dog on street circuits, which I can understand. But this one is just not only is it like a historical track, but it's also like an iconic track. And there's so many things that could, this honestly was a tame one because they're like it's known for crashes and all these accidents. And yeah, we had a few, but not as many as before. Like there was a
well,
clip.
we had a lot of overshoots and sliding into the straightaway after the hairpins, but that was about it, thankfully.
Well, there was a video, like a clip from Max during one of the practices, I'm pretty sure, where or from like I think it was last year or the year before where somebody had a yellow flag and they slid out and it was Perez and then Carlos slid out also. So they were like, safety car. And he was like, ah, yes, it wouldn't be Monaco without this.
Yep. Which
And
I don't think the safety car, no, it got pulled out once, I believe. No, it didn't. I'm trying to remember. No, once. I think it was pulled out once that race.
Poseidon is
Anyways,
loving up on me right now. He is trying to eat my phone charger at the same time. Sorry.
so this race, like right off the bat, like within the first 15 laps, there's a lot of turmoil going on. I noticed one thing too, like every single driver on the radio, tire graining was such a huge issue with this track. And might have been because, as you mentioned, like it was so hot there. I mean, you can just imagine how it was when you're on a regular street like that. It's not like on, NASCAR where you have the track to itself to prevent that sort of thing. Like dealing with that in Monaco on a street race, like you're gonna have some severe tire
Actually,
graining.
Vegas this year being the first Grand Prix in a while, they're actually repaving some of the streets to be more compatible with Formula One tires,
See,
which
and that's good. And I don't know enough about Monaco to know if they do that, but I would imagine because again, it is an iconic track and it
I
is
don't
a
think they
place.
do because it's, I mean, I'm not saying Vegas is not busy, but I think that because it is such a winding track and it's so narrow that it's almost pointless.
Yeah, by the time they did it, it would be void anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so lap 11, I think that was when Carlos got his broken front right wing. And one thing that was, I don't know if you could see that from where you were at, but when I was watching it on TV, so everybody thought immediately right front wing broken. Everybody saw it happen. He didn't pit, he just kept going. They didn't have him come in. And they're waiting for the FIA to make a call to see whether or not they were going to force him to come in and get it swapped out or not. The pit crew was already prepared to go, and they just decided he was good to keep going on the race. FIA didn't call it, which is surprising because, it's not just the driver could lose time because they're less aerodynamic. They lose that front downforce on the car, but it's also a hazard. I mean, you could have a piece of your car coming off, the car could do something you're not used to, but I'd be interested to see who at the FIA made that decision to let him keep going. I mean, I was happy because again, it's Carlos. You know, that's our boy, but at the same time, like that whole, going into lap 12, even 13, you're just holding your breath, watching, just seeing what they're going to do. Like, are they going to pull them in or change it or not? And they decide not to.
We saw it on the big screen right in front of us because it wasn't really near us to where we could see because we had such a limited view. And I like audibly gasped. And I looked at Morgan and I was like, what?
Well, with him starting P4, I really thought, like, I was really hoping he would get podium. And so, like, when that happened, when they came on the radio and they were like, "You're right, your front right wing's gone. It's gone." He's talking to them and he's like, it's busted. And yeah, my chest just clenched up. I was like, nope, this is it. Like both of them, they're pulling out. Ferrari's done. This is it for the race. But no, he kept going. And it's amazing that he didn't lose more lap time than he did. So that was it. That was really cool to watch.
I'll kiss her.
But let's see, what else was a big one? Sargent
Big-
again, staying
I
in.
was going to say a big talking point was the fact that not only did Max Verstappen lap people, but he lapped people from P9 and below. And then I think it was like 15 to 16 or 14 to 16. He lapped them twice. And then from 16 and below was three times. I was like in shock.
The gap he had was astounding.
It was
Like,
phenomenal. I
it,
want to see I want to see if he I'm sure he could perform in anybody else's car. But like that car, I don't know what it is. It is a rocket ship.
you
He
know,
was
we
doing.
my husband and I were actually having a discussion today, because after today's race, I was on my da 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 Max Verstappen kick, and we were talking, and I said, yeah, like it's just, at this point, like I would be very surprised if anything save a complete fire burning wreck caused Max to get out of the race or to pull back out of P1. And he asked me because he watches NASCAR, and he's like, do you think if you put him in a NASCAR track that he'd do good? And I said, well, there's one thing to say, yeah, it's the cars. Yeah, Red Bull's got these rocket ships on wheels. But the other thing is too, Max is such an aggressive driver that I really think like you put him on a oval track, I think where all you do is overtake. You don't have to worry about turns. You don't have to worry about wheel strategy or tire strategy. Like you could just go. I think he would do pretty good. I think just as a whole, like he is a good driver.
I think that he would do totally fine in NASCAR, but also you have to compare they're two totally different types of racing.
Yep.
Totally two completely different cars, different strategies and everything. So I feel like he would do fine, but that's an interesting comparison.
Right?
Like
We
I
were
would
even
I would
we were
compare
deep
it.
into Google trying to see if anybody's ever experimented with this before. Yeah, it was
Not
I'd be
so
interested
many
to see.
drivers have gone to IndyCar.
Which is because it's very similar to F1. Like it's a very similar type of vehicle, but
Style wise. Like Grosjean, he went from Formula One to IndyCar,
that's
but
true.
that amazed me. I was looking on because on the TV they had what you saw on TV where it's people driving and then you see each position and it said plus one lap, and I was like, okay, 2 laps, and I was like, oh my god, 3 laps? Are
That's
you
insane.
three? That is nuts.
I just again, it's the same thing. And then like you look at drivers like Sargent and he's continually going in back. And is it the car or is it the car and the driver combo? Which in his case, I really think it is.
There's
Unfortunate.
that uh rumors that Total Wolf is pushing for Mick Schumacher to replace Logan Sargent if he doesn't start performing. And that
I
sucks. I mean, I understand it, but it also sucks to hear because it's his rookie year. It's his first year doing it.
and I mean, how many races in a row though has he been 18 or below?
Almost all of them.
Exactly. And
Except
to
for
the
maybe
point
one or
where
two when he was 16th.
exactly, which that's I mean, you're getting no points, you're getting nowhere. Like, I mean, I get you're a rookie and it happens and you're trying to figure it out and maybe he just needs a little more under his belt, but at this point in the season,
But look
I
at
just
what Max was doing in his rookie year. Look at Charles. He got signed almost immediately to Ferrari. He was one of the youngest to get signed to Ferrari.
yep.
It's not, I mean, I get it, but it's also not really an excuse because so many other people during their rookie year have performed so well. And no
And
hate
again,
for Logan Sargent.
no, exactly because again, it takes a lot to be an F1 driver. It takes a lot to get there and if you're the worst of the best drivers, you're still one of the best drivers in the world. However, this is a cutthroat industry. We want to see the best of the best. It's a gladiator battle. It's man and machine. And if the driver can't keep up with the machine, you know,
Yeah.
but anyways, that was a little and I know he was having graining issues and on lap 18, him and Perez both were complaining. And I know he did switch out. I think he switched to medium tires around lap 18. So, again, Sargent is that team had a strategy. They knew what they were doing, but unfortunately, he's just not pulling his weight.
Do
But
you think it's more so him not, because you mentioned Is it the car or is it the car and the driver? But you also have to look. Williams just hasn't been performing for a while. It's not even.
No,
It's
I
both.
do. In their case, I do think there's a lot to say about the car. Because I mean, you have teams, like even Aston Martin is, hit or miss sometimes, but they've got a decent driver and a decent driver, like a very good driver. They have Alonso with a middle range car is still getting points. And Williams, yeah, I think their cars need to be looked at. And I don't know for them. I need to look.
Like Ferrari, their car has not been the greatest for a while, but they're still managing to get into the points.
Oh, how many times has Leclerc complained about the car? How awful is the car? We know that car is terrible. We know it has issues.
Where people ask Lando in interviews, "What's wrong with the car? What are you changing?" And he's like, "Everything." And then he ends up P10, which yeah, it's 1 point, but it's still like they're pushing and they're making an effort to try and get there.
But even Hamilton complains about his car not handling how it should, and he's still performing amazingly. It's just again, it's the driver and the car. You can't, for like Leclerc, he's a good driver in a bad car, but he's still doing his job. And then you have Max, who's a good driver in a good car, who we see what that gets you. And then we have, Williams, who unfortunately is just where are we at here? Because Aston Martin's cars aren't the best either, but the drivers are still doing good. Well, I don't know, they're middle of the range, but still,
Fernando,
Logan Sargent, yes, but Logan Sargent really needs to start pulling something.
he needs to start evaluating I mean, obviously they're just rumors, but they're rumors for a reason. So like
Yes.
you got to think about that. Also, speaking of rumors, and Lewis Hamilton, apparently there's rumors that he might possibly be getting signed to Ferrari for next season. And I'm wondering who they're going to, if that's true, if that happens, who's switching?
I don't like either of this. I mean, I love the idea of having Hamilton, but I think I might know who they'd be switching, and I don't think you like that answer.
Who do you think?
Who do you think?
Who are you thinking?
I mean, well, I don't know. We'll have to see what the rest of the season goes like because
I don't want to say so. I think Carlos is killing it this season. And I think Charles, I don't want to say that he's struggling. He's just having a lot of issues with the car.
it's the car. Change
But
your car.
change the car. I have it printed out. The amount of times that goes through my head every day is ridiculous. But I honestly think that with Charles, his legacy and the history and the meaning of being in Ferrari to him, and I mean, there's pictures from Monaco Grand Prix of Fred with him and his family. So I think I honestly think they'd boot Carlos.
Yeah, I feel like if they booted Charles, it would cause a lot of uproar because he kind of is the face right now of Ferrari.
I think he said, like, even in interviews with all the issues, and people are like, there's rumors of him going to Mercedes, and there's rumors of this and this. And he's like, no, like, I'm staying with Ferrari. Like, this is the team I wanted.
Yep.
I honestly think that they would keep him.
I think that's a fair assessment, but we'll
I
see
don't
what
want
happens.
Lewis, I love you, but stay at Mercedes.
Right?
You're doing fine there. Stay.
Right? Mercedes colors look great on him. He could just leave our boys alone.
Really?
But so speaking of Sargent, it only took him until I think it was lap 26 to pit and end up back in P20.
Yeah.
Which again, 26 out of 78. That's unfortunate. We saw that the week before, well, 2 weeks before, since our other one was canceled, but we saw that 2 weeks before P20 didn't get out of it and he got P18, went straight back down.
At that point, I feel like it's more of just like a car issue.
I really think it's both. I think he's a young driver in a bad car.
I think I agree. Because obviously, again, rookie year, he's still learning. Because Formula 2 is different than Formula 1. Yeah, they're similar, but coming from a different level of racing into Formula 1, you're racing against, I mean, Lewis Hamilton, he's been doing this for a long time. Fernando Alonso, long time. These people have been doing this. They've been racing Formula 1 cars for 20 plus years.
Yep.
You're brand new. Like, yeah, there's going to be a learning curve. But at some point, P20, P18, P19 consistently isn't showing anything.
No, it's
No
really
hatred
not.
at all. I don't want it to seem like we're totally dogging on it, but I just think that he needs to prove himself more.
I mean, now 2 episodes in a row, we've talked about him underperforming. So, but anyways, so moving on, I think after lap 32 is when things started to get a little spicy for a little while there because that was when Ocon pits and while he was in P3 and gets knocked down to P7, which that I was really rooting for him. And at that point, like again, that was one of those moments in the race that I was sitting there, had my cup of coffee, leaning in, pulling my hair out, like, what are you guys doing? Because I didn't, again, overtaking in Monaco, not an easy feat. You gotta get those places when people are pit. Like that's the only thing you can do.
Well, and like Charles, he kept bouncing between. Oh, hello. Sorry, my cat just walked by. Um,
Poseidon.
it Charles, he bounced between P3, P6, P4, and like the whole time, I'm like screaming at the cars as they're driving by. I'm pretty sure that Ferrari, I mean, the whole day is like a blur to me. It felt like a dream. So I don't remember a lot of like the details. I'm pretty sure Ferrari did a double pit.
I think they did at one point. I don't remember,
I
but
remember just screaming, like, what are you doing?
because I think that was around lap 34 because I literally had a note that said what happened to Carlos because I looked up, I think I went to the bathroom and I came back and I was like, where did he's now in I don't even know where he is. I couldn't find him. When I first looked, I'm like, where'd he go on the grid? Like he's bro, you're gone.
Yeah, because that obviously pit lanes, they're not in my direct view, but we had that big screen, and I just remember a lot of people looked at me, but I was like screaming, I'm like, what are you doing?
The other thing though, when Carlos pit, they didn't change his wing. They left that wing go. They didn't change the front end. They had it ready to go. They decided not to waste the time, which cool, great. I was really rooting for him. I really wanted to see him on podium even with that, but him just finishing at all, I was excited for because I really thought I was going to take him out.
I mean, at the point, like, just you had it ready, just switch it out.
So speaking of you being there and not, having and being in the moment, I distinctly remember lap 52, a certain driver getting on the radio and saying, "Does anybody else see this rain?" And then all blankety blank
Well,
broke loose.
we saw what happened from our perspective was off in the distance, you see these clouds, and they kept saying, oh, it might rain, it might rain. They kept going back and forth, like, oh, it's not gonna rain. 10 minutes later, I feel like a drop or two. Okay, I hope it doesn't like rain because all hell's gonna break loose. Then it started coming down more and more, and I saw that on the TV, and I was like,
I was watching and I was literally watching the crowds and I was watching the drivers and I was like, oh no, Nat. Hope you wore waterproof mascara.
no. But I mean, there's memes about it already where it's like, yeah, Monaco can be kind of a boring race because basically what you qualify in is probably what you're going to place in. And there's memes about it where it's like Monaco Grand Prix just chugging along, and then it's like somebody sneaking in, being all sneaky, like the rain, making it interesting. So,
Well, it's funny because like if you look at my notebook, like I have all these notes up until 52, and then I think it was like 52, 55, 57, and then lap 70 was when I finally started taking notes again because I was sitting literally on the edge of the couch watching the race because I was watching the drivers get completely turned around and have to turn around, go back the other direction, having to reverse on the track to get back going where they were.
That was George Russell. He got a penalty for that, actually. He got a 5-second penalty. The one that stressed me out, because everybody that listens to this probably already knows. If you haven't, then
You're under a rock.
probably didn't listen to the previous episode, but I'm a Ferrari fan.
What? No.
No
Kidding.
way.
I had no idea.
I'm watching the screen in front of me, and I have my Ferrari jacket pulled up over my head a little bit because it's raining. Carlos sliding off the track. I screamed.
He got a yellow flag for that. The yellow flag came out, that was 55. That was right before it started downpouring too. It wasn't actually downpouring yet.
I was like, everybody around me was like, "Oh my god, who is this crazy lady who just keeps screaming?" I'm like,
my notes literally, it's just asterisk, downpour, sand, slides, and then just everybody drifting. Just it looked like Tokyo Drift out there. Like it was insane.
It's already super iffy. You add rain onto that.
Was it Yuki and Hamilton that got in there together that just slid right in the whole way and had to navigate around each other to get out?
Yeah. Did you?
I mean, they were.
I think it was. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Kevin Magnussen. So if anybody knows this, correct me if I'm wrong, please. I don't want to be saying wrong things, but I'm pretty sure it was him. He instead, like you in the hairpin, they all slow down and they turn. He drifted. He like full on like drifted the turn. I was like, that is a good move.
Plays Tokyo Drift. Tokyo Drift.
Just change it to Monaco Drift.
Monaco Drift. That would be me. We know I like drifting. That's me. And this is why I'm not a Formula One driver, because I just
drift all the turns. And you'd be your strategist and your engineers would be on your comms talking to you like, all right, Kiki, you got to do this, and you'd be like, Tokyo.
Where's the e-brake on this thing?
And you're like,
catch me on my full slicks. Speaking of, oh my gosh, what was going on with the tire strategy? We were talking about tire strategy, and Monaco, again, you have to go into it with that, right? Like this is all dangerous. It's about maintenance. Like I keep stressing. And we had these wonderful tire strategies. All the teams had them, and downpour just knocked it all out the window. Because now we're talking about inters. Do we do inters? Do we do wets? Like what's going on here? Because I mean, the track, like you said, it was bone dry. It was hot out. Like we were already having graining issues with the tires. And now you got a downpour. You got water sitting on the track. Is it going to stay that way? We know they're watching the rain. They're trying to figure out the clouds are going to go. Because really, it was only a few minutes that it rained.
10 minutes total.
But that was enough for several of them to panic and change the full slicks.
How fast they're going. And I mean, one lap is what? 1 minute, 20 seconds max.
Yep.
I mean, 10 minutes, that's a long time.
So that, again, Monaco is not always the most exciting race, but if you're into strategy, that them panicking and trying to change their tires out and figure out what was best, that was exciting to watch. And did all the teams make a great choice? No, definitely not. What was it? Yuki, I think he came on the radio at lap 66, and I don't know if you caught this from the stands, but it was hilarious. Because he's trying to talk how bad his tires are performing and how bad the vehicle's performing while everybody's drifting everywhere. And Yuki says, and I quote, "Are you trying to crash me out or what?" Over the radio.
I missed that.
Yep. Because he's like, my tires, this, that, and the other. And I don't remember the rest of the conversation, but all of a sudden you just hear Yuki very exasperated, just, "Are you trying to crash me out or what?" And I was just like, oh boy.
I feel like that's almost as bad as Charles's radio. I can't remember what race, but he came on the radio and he said, "I'm gonna go home and cry and it's all your fault." I feel like it's bad.
It was. That's why I wrote it down, because I was like, oh, this is gold. But
radios. We'll talk about this in the Spanish Grand Prix episode, but there was some good radios. It was great.
But anyways, yeah, the inners versus wets. Really, I mean, I can understand if the rain had continued, but they were in lap 70 with vehicles still switching out, still trying to figure out what to do. And at that point, like, why risk it? Like, stay on what you've got on and manage with your best that you can because you're 8 laps in. You've got only a few minutes left of the race,
Right.
which last few minutes of the race thankfully weren't exciting. I say thankfully not exciting as in no major crashes, nothing too crazy. Few penalties for people backing up on the track, but
George.
besides that, from 70 on, it was just kind of a home free, especially for, Max, who was ages ahead of everybody else and never pulled
That
out.
was insane. Like, I'm still in shock. Like, 3 laps ahead. I understand 1 or 2, but that's usually like you're lapping like P18 and below, out like P9 and below. Some of them being, oh my god, it was ridiculous. I looked at my friend and I was like, "Is that say 3?" She's like, "Yeah." I go, "Okay, that's interesting."
But anyways, so
I think my favorite part of the Monaco Grand Prix finishing, like the podium, obviously Max Verstappen killed it. Fernando
as always,
killed it. Esteban Ocon in P3 made my heart so happy because he is the first Frenchman to get a podium in Monaco since 1996.
which you could just see it on his face. You could
Even
see it
when
on
he
the
still had
crowd.
the like even when he just pulled up the visor, he was like, "Yeah."
That warmed my heart. And again, like, congrats to Max. We knew that was gonna be good, but come on. Like, to be that happy on podium, let alone third, SD bestie.
Proud of you.
I'm
And
here
my
for it.
supervisor even made jokes like the day before I was leaving to go to Monaco. He goes, "Yeah, she's a Ferrari fan, but she's spending all this money to go watch Max win by 40 seconds." And I was like, "Listen, you don't know what's gonna happen." That's what happened.
Okay. I'm just going to assume Max is gonna take it. We know he's gonna take it.
Yeah, but I can talk about some things from the race weekend now that we've talked about all the kind of points of the race.
Would
So
love to hear it.
I saw 3 of the racers, like in the flesh, super close.
Jealous.
So my friend and I, we were on the docks just Saturday night, just looking at the pretty yachts and stuff. And all of a sudden, I see somebody that resembles George Russell. So I'm just like staring. And he gets a little bit closer, and I'm just jaw fell to the floor. I look at my friend, I go, "Oh my god, that's George Russell." He
And
looks
then you texted me, all caps.
he looks at me because it's quiet. It's a like everybody's out partying and we're just like on the dock part. And so he looks at me and I was like, "Oh my god, um, George Russell just looked at me."
Heavy,
And it's
heavy
probably
breathing.
because I said, "Oh my god, it's George Russell." And then I had to sit down because I felt out of breath. Yeah. If he ever sees this, that's really embarrassing. I'm really sorry. Then
You can't help it though.
I know I was like, "Oh my god," it was almost like starstruck because I've watched him on TV and stuff, and he was right there. So it was almost like, "Oh my god, he's actually a real person. He's not
Like,
just
he
like somebody on
exists.
TV."
He's not just a TV personality, it's a real human being. This is a real driver.
Yes, it hit me hard. Then Sunday after the race, my friend and I we were going to Jimmy's, which is a nightclub in Monaco that is known for some racers going. We're walking, and all of a sudden, our chili pepper walks by, and I whip my head around, and I was like, "Oh my god, that was Carlos Sainz." And my friend was like, "No, it wasn't." I go, "Don't question me. It was." And I turned back around, and it was him. He was on the phone, and so I didn't want to like be rude and ask him for a picture because obviously he's walking, he's going somewhere, he's on the phone, and so I got a picture of the back of his head.
There are people too, he's just had a very long weekend. Like, he probably appreciates when people don't come up to him. I mean, they're all great guys, and
Right.
you go up for a picture, most of them are going to be happy to take one as long as you're not rude or weird, like
Right,
that
but
one
he's
girl
like,
that just
"Oh, I'm
ran
not
up
gonna
and
be
kissed one of them.
it's not
But
he's like this, walking, not even acknowledging me being like, oh my God. Like I'm not gonna just run after him and be like, can I get a picture with you? No.
yeah, exactly.
But then we're in Jimmy's and I'm sitting on top of the area right in front of the DJ booth. That's a little elevated because my feet really hurt. And I'm like kind of falling a little bit and I grabs whoever's closest to me. And I look over to say sorry and I'm holding on to Pierre Gasly's arm. And I'm like immediately let go and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Wasn't he there with his girlfriend too?
She's beautiful.
I was gonna say I've seen pictures of her. Oh
She's
my goodness,
beautiful.
drop dead gorgeous.
Not only did I see him and accidentally grab his arm for like 2 seconds, I was like, I'm so sorry. Because again, like he's having a night out with his girlfriend. He's saying hi to these people. Like I didn't mean to like I'm not trying to come
Yeah,
off as like a crazy person. Like, oh my God.
grab, got him. You have to take a picture with me now. I have you.
It's his night out. He just finished racing. Like I'm gonna let him enjoy his night, not be like a crazed fan. But I got a picture and I got a video of him walking away. Then I walk up to the bar and guess who's standing right there? Pierre Gasly. And I was like, oh my God, he's right there.
Picking your jaw up off the floor.
I texted my parents and I was like, I just saw Pierre Gasly in the club. I'm trying not to fangirl. Please help.
Good on you for self-restraint because yeah.
I was screaming and crying internally. I sent a Snapchat. I think I sent this to you. I was like screaming, crying,
You
throwing
did.
up. I just saw 3 racers in 2 days. But then I ended up meeting a photographer who works with Charles occasionally. And
Oh, that's exciting.
I became like homies with him. And he was wearing a Charles Leclerc shirt. And so I was like, oh my God, I love your shirt. Like he's my racer. And he's like, yeah, he's supposed to be here tonight, but he's with family. And I was like,
Oh, so close.
I know. Well, I also missed Charles by 20 seconds or maybe 2 minutes when we were on this yacht on Saturday night and I had to go to the bathroom. So I go down into the bathroom on this yacht and I come back out and I'm talking to the guy on the yacht next to us and he's like, oh, like, are you a Formula One fan? I'm like, duh, that's why I'm here. But I didn't say
No,
that.
I just decided to come to Monaco for the atmosphere on a race weekend.
Right. I didn't, whatever. And he's like, oh, who's your team? And I said, oh, Ferrari. I really like Charles. I really hope he does well this weekend. Like, it's his home race. Charles was on the yacht next to him and was leaving to go home while I was in the bathroom. I missed him because I had to pee.
That's unfortunate. You know what? Maybe we'll get lucky when we go to the Vegas Grand Prix and
I told Morgan that if he came back when we were on the yacht again to push me in the water,
that's a good strategy.
oh my God, help me. No, just kidding. That's crazy.
I doubt before the race he would risk it though, but somebody would have probably saved you out there in Monaco.
He probably like, no, he seems like too nice of a person, but no, it was obviously a joke. I'm not going to jump in harbor, but it,
Yeah,
it was an insane weekend. Like look back at the videos and just a video of Pierre just 10 steps away from me and I'm like, oh my gosh. And again, his girlfriend Kika, she is beautiful. Like
she
pictures,
is.
her pictures are amazing and they don't do justice. If that says how pretty she is. Like go
What
Pierre.
a lucky guy. Like everybody's like, "Oh, those, all the women that get to date these racers." No, like
Look at her. Like yeah, Pierre,
Pierre, you are a lucky man.
he's good looking. But damn, Kika, you're cute.
Oh goodness, I'm so jealous. I wish I could have been there to experience that, but one of us had to actually watch the whole thing.
Hey, listen. We're gonna go to Vegas and we're gonna have to like rewatch the race.
I
Like
think yeah, there's no way we're taking notes at the race, so apologies for that episode ahead of time, guys.
it might be a wonky one because one of us or neither of us will be watching it on TV with all the because they had the stuff that you see on TV, but you can't hear the commentating. But then they also have because in Monaco they speak French. They had the French commentating over the speakers, and I was like, I hear Jensen and I hear French. I don't know.
Yeah, too much coming in at once. You have to pay attention to both or neither.
Yes, and then the car's going by, and so I was just like,
For those of you listening to the podcast, Natalie is pretending to be a car.
I'm like turning my head because they go by.
But anywho, no, I hope we get to do more of these dual perspectives in the future because it's just, one thing being at home in your own couch and getting to see the actual strategy behind everything and getting to hear all the radios. And then it's one thing being there with the cars, with the crowd, with the atmosphere, and actually feeling Formula One. And of course, that's what gets people into racing in the first place is the actual races themselves, being there, smelling the tires on the pavement, getting rained on a lot, and not having umbrellas.
Wasn't that bad, honestly. So like from sitting in the stands, it really wasn't that bad. I understand the issues with the driving part because there's so many different things that could go wrong with just a teeny bit of water, but like from sitting in the stands, it wasn't raining like that hard. It wasn't like torrential downpour. It was sprinkling for a little bit, got a little bit harder, and then it just like evaporated and disappeared.
Yeah, it's not too bad. But yeah, I hope we can do more of these dual perspectives. They're nice, they're great, they're fun. We still do owe our viewers kind of a history and Formula One basics video that we'll be getting to eventually.
Yes. Maybe next week since the next race is like the 14th of June. Maybe we'll do
Yep.
that. But that's all I have.
No, I think that's all I've got for this race. Yeah, Monaco was a good one. Honestly, like I think probably like at least the most interesting one so far to watch.
I agree. I think it was a good one. I really liked it. And obviously like I signed up for pre-sale tickets already because it was just it not only was it unreal being in Monaco, but it was unreal being at such a historical and iconic track. And I know there's rumors of people saying, "Oh, they're gonna get rid of Monaco," and I was like, with how much history there is there, I doubt it.
I would be genuinely surprised because a lot of people, when you think Formula One, one of the first tracks that comes to mind is Monaco,
I mean, I got the circuit tattooed on my arm while I was there, like,
which is awesome.
and my theory behind that was it was my first time in Europe. It was my first time at a Formula One race. I feel like it's such an iconic place, like I had to, and it's super dainty and small, so it's not like I got Monaco tattooed on my forehead.
Oh, you should have. Everybody would know.
I went to Monaco Grand Prix 2023. Just
It rhymes. It's a poem.
I could just have it like tattooed on my foot or a neck tattoo.
Oh, even better.
I went to Monaco.
Grand Prix 2023.
It just goes from like under my chin all the way down my chest.
I love it.
But thanks for listening, guys. Stay tuned for the Spanish Grand Prix.
I'm super excited to talk about that one too, even though I wasn't exactly feeling well the morning before, but
As long as you're feeling better now, that's all that matters.
I am. Thank you. But yeah, super excited to talk about it, guys. Can't wait for the next one. Goodbye.